Hello, everyone. My name is Elliot, and I am a 31-year-old trans man. I have been on testosterone for 2.5 years, um, nearly, and I have a double mastectomy top surgery scheduled for the 28th of this month, December 2020. Being a trans man, that means that at birth, I was assigned the gender of female on my birth certificate, but have learned throughout the history of my life that I was method acting my way through existence, that being read as female, and using she her pronouns and living that life meant that I was deciding not to ever have happiness, deciding not to ever have joy, and to not ever feel present in my body. So for me, transitioning was necessary for me to continue existing. It was a need. That isn't the case for all non-binary or trans people. Some people are quite content to not transition, and that is absolutely okay. My body required this to keep existing. I gotta tell you, in my lifespan, I have never been statistically good at sticking with things that are hard. I am well versed in a variety of hobbies and interests that I engage in for a time and then eventually get bored of or move on from. So I am a master of no trades, but just a dabbler in many things. However, I have never missed a testosterone shot. I have never missed a testosterone-related doctor's appointment. I have never foregone a phone call about my top surgery. Why? Because it is a need to my body the way eating and drinking and exercise is a need to everyone's body. I need this to keep being with y'all on this planet. So this video, I'm going to talk about the setbacks I've had regarding top surgery. And it is in no way intended to dissuade anybody on the trans spectrum or the non-binary spectrum from having top surgery. Obviously, I still have a top surgery scheduled. I am greatly enthusiastic about it, and I have zero doubt in my mind that it is what I need to do and the next step in my journey. However, I think that if I had been 16 and 17 and 18, or if I had been maybe living with an abusive partner or in a toxic home, or if I hadn't had radical acceptance from my family and friends, I think that honestly, some of the setbacks that I've had might have taxed me beyond my capacity. And despite years of research before I began transitioning and years of research during my transition, I have not yet found a lot of good content from trans men or trans spectrum folk about the kinds of systemic setbacks that get in the way of our physical and medical transitions. And I think the reason that I haven't found a lot of content like that is because trans folk so frequently have to validate their existence to the cis people in their lives, because there's so much misinformation and fear regarding trans people that cis people put out these ideas that they are that trans people are confused or that they're following a trend, or which is asinine, because there is no way anyone would go through this process that is very hard if they weren't 100% sure that this is what they had to do for themselves. So but I do understand why trans people don't feel like they can talk about any of the negative aspects, because I think they're worried that it'll make them seem unsure about the process, or take away the positive spirit that they want cis people to see trans people in. But I think that knowing what to expect really helps people manage the emotional toll that some of this can take. So anyway, I'll tell you, I wanted to have top surgery, which is basically removing my breasts. I wanted to have top surgery before I started taking testosterone. There were a few reasons for that. At the time, I was in car sales, and I wanted to have top surgery first because there are a lot of flat-chested women in the world, and I thought that having top surgery first would help me pass as male sooner. Even if I didn't have the facial hair and stuff, there would be less physical giveaways as to my gender. Which, despite the fact that there are a lot of trans people in the world, we are outnumbered by cis people. So we will have a society that assumes gender for quite some time, I'm sure. Anyway, it ended up kind of being a good thing that I found out that you have to be on, most surgeons require you be on testosterone for a period of time, or at least out as your authentic self, using your pronouns and your name, before they'll move forward with a top surgery. So, it ended up being for the best, because for a period of time when I was in car sales, I realized quickly that I had been hired because I was perceived as a woman, and because that was advantageous to the business. We didn't have any female salespeople, and some clientele is more comfortable working with someone they perceive as a woman, and so I had concerns about transitioning. One, because I worked at a very conservative workplace. Two, because car sales is sort of like more, people are dropping a lot of money, and they have a certain expectation of the physical presentation of the person that they're working with. And three, because the company had hired me because I was a woman, frankly. So I was very afraid to come out to my employer at the time. Also, there were shifts in the Supreme Court that were making it look like it might become possible for people to fire me for being transgender. And so I, didn't get my top surgery right away, and for a while I had to overperform femininity and pretend to be a woman, to make money. And at the time I was very much living paycheck to paycheck, so losing even a paycheck was really terrifying. So anyway, because of my workplace, because of that most surgeons need you to be on testosterone for a period of time, or out as your authentic self for a period of time before they'll give you surgery, I went on testosterone before I started my surgery process. So I was on testosterone for probably 2 or 3 months when I started to actively look for a surgeon. And there were shifts in my insurance. Some insurance helps with top surgery more than other insurance. My doctor wanted to make sure my blood levels were right. So there were all kinds of setbacks I had along that early process, that made it so that I couldn't do top surgery right away. So a few more months went by. I had some steady insurance that I knew was top surgery friendly. This involved hundreds of phone calls to different insurance companies, to different surgeons, to different doctors, to much research online to find out, who the best doctors were in the country and what that involved. Because nobody I called could answer these questions for me. These are things I had to find on my own and answer for myself about my own body. So I did that for a while, and then finally I found this surgeon that I wanted to go to at Beth Israel, who had a BMI requirement that I was riding the line and above, where they needed me to be for this surgery. So then I spent months trying to lose weight. Well, the thing is, I'm also on testosterone, which means that my appetite was higher, my muscle mass was growing at the same time that I was trying to lose weight, and it was extremely difficult to manage losing weight on top of that. And honestly, I've never had any kind of medical report that I have high blood sugar or high cholesterol or any of that kinds of stuff that comes with assumptions that, weight is causing these medical issues. I didn't have any of those things. I don't have diabetes. So to me, it was extremely frustrating that they had this BMI requirement, because I was like, well, I'm healthy. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. So I ended up I lost like 25 pounds. And then I was ready to do the surgery, and then COVID happened, and the surgeon had all kinds of rules about getting letters from a therapist. Well, I didn't have a regular therapist at the time. So then I found out that you have to be with that therapist for 6 months. They have to have a record of seeing you for 6 months before you can do top surgery. So I had to get the letter from the surgeon. I had to get the letter from the doctor, and that had to involve blood work over the course of a year. My PCP letter. Then I had to have a referral from my PCP. Then I had to have documents changed before they would do that. They wanted to see physical documents. Eventually I was like, this surgeon is ridiculous. They've still not given me a date. Every time I call, they say they need one more thing. Every time I say, just tell me the whole list of things that you need and I'll get it all done, they would say, oh, well, we can't. Their office would be randomly closed. And honestly, it was starting to feel like they just didn't want to help me. Which was frustrating. Extremely frustrating. I kind of got the feeling that I was being I was having additional hoops thrown at me because I was on state healthcare, Mass Health, and that's like Medicaid for Massachusetts. And I thought maybe it was because I wasn't on the fanciest health insurance that I was being treated this way. I wasn't sure, but anyway, so then I found another surgeon at Boston Children's Hospital. They've been pretty good so far, but they've rescheduled my surgery twice. They made me jump probably half a dozen hoops when I called. I'll call, and then they'll say, okay, well, we gotta wait a month for this thing, or we gotta wait 30 days for this thing, or you gotta get another letter from your therapist because the old letter is too old, and now you need a new one. And we gotta call your partner and make sure she's not like abusing you, or it's been so many things, so many phone calls, so many hoops, way more hoops than any cis person has to jump for any surgery that I can possibly think of. And this assumption that that it's almost like a misogynistic assumption too, that like just so you know, you won't be able to breastfeed. Just so you know, you won't be able to breastfeed. Just so you know, if you ever have kids, you won't be able to breastfeed. It's like, yes, I know. I've researched this for 2.5 years, and you told me a dozen times. I've signed paperwork. Anyway, kids, I just want you to know, and I'm speaking directly to young trans and queer folk right now. Your surgery will happen. Your hormones will happen because you will never give up until they do. But there will be every obstacle in your way to prevent you from doing that. And you've got to stay living in the present. You've got to stay living in the day that you're in. And just do the next step. Don't think about the 5 steps after it. Just do the one next thing you know that you've been told that you need to do until you've jumped through so many hoops that they have no choice but to help you. You're going to get through this because you are brave and incredible and persistent and able to advocate for yourself. And it will not be because our systemically transphobic system aided you in that process. It will not be because somebody held your hand the whole way. It will be because you pushed through. And if you ever need anybody to talk to, DM me. You can, email me at elliottellipsis@gmail.com, and I will absolutely help you find resources and answer questions for you related to top surgery and transitioning, because leaning on your fellow trans folk is going to be your best tool to find the emotional reserves to get through this. Anyway, I love you all. Take care. Bye.